Alright, YouTube, welcome back to my ultimate Linux machine that I'm building here. Things are going really well. I pretty much have all the updates that I want. I still have plenty of software that I need to install, so got quite a lot of work to do there. But I've pretty much got, I don't know, about 70% of everything I want to install. Now, what I'm going to do on part 2 here of my Ultimate Linux machine is I need to add Kde Desktop, and the reason for this is when I do my editing, I'm going to need the Kde Desktop environment, so I'm going to go ahead and run the command line here. Nice and large so that it's visible, and we'll minimize the browser for right now. So I'm going to become root, and what I need to do, I've already got the command. I'm going to do an install of the entire Kde package. So let me roll back here. These are all the packages that need to be installed as a part of the entire Kde or desktop Plasma experience. So it's called Kde, but some people call it Plasma Desktop. Whichever the case, these are all the packages I'm going to need. Now, one of the downsides of doing this, so I'll go all the way up to the bottom here. When I look in software right now, I'm not going to say it's nice and clean, but there's really not all that much stuff there. And basically, once I do this, you can see it's going to do, when it's completed, 1.1 gigabytes. This includes just tons and tons of apps that come with Kde, which isn't a bad thing, but it does tend to clutter the menu in the GNOME desktop side. So I'm going to say yes to installing, and this will probably take, I don't know, I got a pretty fast connection here. Hopefully not more than 5 or 10 minutes. When I left you at the end of the first part of this series, and this will be the last of it here, I had successfully installed GNOME on my 240 gigabyte, my brand new SSD, and I did discover that by default the system was still going to boot up to the Windows SSD that hasn't been touched at all. So there's no grub bootloader on my Windows SSD, so at any time I can take the Linux SSD out of here and I will not have a problem booting to Windows, which is a good thing. However, if I boot to the Linux SSD, of course, Linux always plays nice with Windows, so it went ahead and set up the grub bootloader so that had Linux as the default, but I can also boot to Windows if I want. So what I did was set the Linux Fedora SSD as my master boot so that I can select either operating system when I boot up. The system has been running absolutely awesome, so I'm pretty geeked to be editing on this. I think you can pretty much see, even though I'm shooting the screen with my Galaxy Note 4, the Sony Bravia 49-inch 4K TV I'm running on is absolutely beautiful. I'm really excited about using this to do editing. Basically, I've got an easy chair here, and I put a board across it. I have a Wi-Fi wireless keyboard and mouse. I have enough room on the board where I can put up another laptop so I can do other work. I can put up a tablet, all kinds of stuff. So I've got this beautiful little work environment, and I can see this 49-inch screen perfectly. All the text is easily readable. It's crystal clear, and everything's good so far. Now I noticed, and this was interesting, so there's my Sony Bravia. It is running in 1080p mode. Aha, so the new one is there. Okay. Prior to my doing the update to Fedora, I was not seeing a 4K option, which I may consider. The only downside to taking the 4K option is I'm going to have to do some kind of scaling. And right now I'm at a 1-to-1 ratio with no scaling, so I'm thinking I'm not going to push 4K, even though I'm doing that in the Windows SSD. But the Windows SSD works perfectly with 4K, so it scales all the applications and everything perfectly with very, very few environmental issues. And I might experiment with that at a later date, but what I'm thinking is with running at 1080p, it'll probably be faster for one thing. Secondly, I can see everything perfectly. Lastly, the Kde Desktop on my my Lenovo 2, my Yoga 2, it has a high resolution display, and I have a really bad time dealing with font issues when I switch back and forth between Plasma applications and the Kde Desktop. And some of you may say, well, why don't you just go ahead and use only the KDE environment? Well, I tried that too, and there's still font issues. So the scaling feature just doesn't work elegantly like Windows does. So when you set scaling in Windows 10 at least, it elegantly scales everything perfectly, including all the applications, and everything for the most part, except for some weird applications, comply. In the case of KDE, it just doesn't work that well. So I think I'm going to stick with 1080p for now. So the next thing I need to do here is install my editing software. Oops, forgot the critical part, install. It may already be installed, but I don't think so. I think you have to request this one. Yes, you do. It amazes me that it's only 11 megabytes downloaded, 53 installed, because it really is a pretty good editor. Again, I installed the Kde Plasma desktop interface because really, you know, I tried to install Kdenlive without having the Kde Plasma environment installed, and it really just didn't work out very good. Actually, it didn't work at all. So there was tons of elements in the Plasma desktop that are required in order to let you run Kdenlive. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to, kind of curious here, trying to get my mouse to wake up. Good feature on the mouse, it does go to sleep, but it takes it like 10 seconds to realize it's sleeping. Let's just see if we can run Kdenlive now that it's installed. This is one of my go-to apps, so I'm going to add it to my favorites and go ahead and run it. So it has a initial config wizard here. I really don't need to discover the features. I've used it quite extensively. I do like to check the installed modules. It's showing that everything is ready. These are my available codecs. I'm not going to change anything. I usually leave it at its default. Now this is the one thing I do change. I like to have my default be 1080p 30 frames a second. Now some of you might say, but why don't you do 60 frames a second? Well, I'm using the Galaxy Note 4 as my primary camera, so I'm still back in the dark ages with 30 frames a second. I could shoot 60 frames per second, but I use the Galaxy Note 4 in-camera stabilization feature, which to me is very useful. At some point, I'm going to get a really nice electronic gimbal, and at that point, I'm not going to worry anymore about 30 frames and the stabilization. If you use, or excuse me, if you look at on YouTube, Techmoan, he reviewed a really nice electronic gimbal, which I'd like to purchase. It's about $200, give or take. Let's see, show video thumbnail, show audio. One thing I'd like to warn everybody about, this crash recovery feature, it doesn't work half the time, even if you crash. So, warning right now, if you're going to use Kdenlive as your editor, and I know you're going to say, well then why do you use it? Well, I like it. But if you are going to use Kdenlive as your editor, you want to save frequently, because whenever you crash, it's going to take you back to the last time you saved. Caveat emptor. Alright, so yeah, I don't have a webcam, of course. Not too concerned about that. No black magic devices. It says Zine is required to preview my DVD. Well, I don't have to worry about that because I do have a DVD burner in here, so I probably should install it. And I don't even have to wait. Let's do DNF install Zine and see if it'll install. Yes. So I'll just say yes because I do have a DVD player. I don't think I'm going to be burning DVDs anymore, but it's nice to be ready just in case. Awesome. Okay, so it's not going to show it. Maybe if I go back and then next. No, it's not going to check again. Alright, so there's Kdenlive. I'm going to minimize this. Maximize Kdenlive. Awesome, I absolutely love it. I can go ahead and bring down my tracks. Very easy to see everything. Everything is perfectly clear for me. You know, what I'm seeing, what you're seeing in the camera simply doesn't do it justice. This is just beautiful. I couldn't be happier. So I basically got a full-featured editor on a very nice system, and I'm completely geeked. So I'm going to pause the camera here for just a minute. I've got to get my 4K video, and I'm going to input my 4K video into a new project, and I'm going to start out right away. I will change up here, of course it says HD 1080p. I'm going to change that to a 4K render and do some previewing and all that stuff. The 4K video basically cannot play on my i7. I mean, I get like a frame every 2 or 3 seconds. And the other problem with it, well, it's not really a problem, it's just the facts. So I had a 2-minute 4K video that I'm just going to create the same thing in here, same project. I think it took, I'd have to go back and look at the video. I think it was 18 minutes, 16 or 18 minutes to render a 2-minute 23-second video. So yeah, you know, it's not like I'm going to be able to do 4K with that system. I don't really believe I'm going to be able to do 4K with this one, to be honest, but it'd be nice to see what it's capable of and how well it'll render out. The two videos that I'm recording right now, part 1 of this series, my Ultimate Linux System, and part 2, I'm going to edit right on here. I will double render it. So I'll render it, and then I'll put the frame rates at the end of each of the videos, or not the frame rate, sorry, the time to render at each of the videos. So I'll re-render it again and just put a title at the end so you can see what the final render was. Now on my i7, what I'm seeing for render times is pretty much almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I've got a 15-minute video on my Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro i7 and it's 1080p, if I render it, I see approximately maybe 10, it varies, maybe depending on how complex the project is, anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes to render a 15-minute video. So not too bad. So if I had a 1-hour video, I probably could render it in 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. So any improvement is an improvement over that. Of course, with iMovie and my Mac, render times are even faster, but this is all open source, so it's a whole different animal. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'll get my 4K video integrated, and we're going to see how bumpy it is. Alright, I'm going to close Kdenlive because I've actually got successfully. So here is my file structure. Now I'm gonna hopefully not have to create the entire project, but in order to do that, I have to make sure that I have all the files in the same place. So in order to do that, in my videos directory, what I did before, I've got my main folder, and then in here I have, excuse me, my mouse just fell down. A raw folder and an edited folder. So in the raw folder goes the 4K test videos, so they're in the same location as on my other computer. Then if I go back to my home directory, I now have a Kdenlive folder, and proxy thumbs and titles I need to recopy, so just to be safe I like to back up, and then I need to move the actual project, proxy, titles, and thumbs. So theoretically now, if I open Kdenlive, I'm really hoping that opening this project will work. Okay, so I have moved over all the necessary project files, and I'm going to try and open up the project. This is from my other computer, so these should be perfectly identical. Okay, so that's my monitor. First thing I want to check out is see how well the video actually plays. So I'm going to go straight to the end of the video here. And we are going to do a test. So this is just playing it. Let's see what happens. Now the intro is always smooth, so that's no surprise. It's these 4K videos that are the problem. Yeah, I am not seeing any movement at all. And I crashed. I successfully crashed Kdenlive. That didn't take very long. I'll move this down here. Whoops. I'm going to close this and see if when I reopen it, it remembers how I said it. It doesn't. Lovely. I was kind of hoping. Oh well. Well, in that case, I might as well just leave it alone until I can actually get this working. Okay, so let's just click anywhere in the... Alright, so it does show me the video. That was an image I put in it. I think what I'm going to do, all right, that's full screen. I really hate to try and play it. Well, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a render. Project settings. Okay, so yeah, this is set up to do a 4K video by default because the project I have set to a 4K. So I'm going to click render, and you can see I call this video take 2. Well, that's because I added the final slide, which gives the render time, but of course this will be inaccurate, but I'm just going to leave it just as it is, and I'm going to go ahead and do render to file. Well, if it really did take 4 minutes, I'd be really tickled, but I don't think it's going to. But that would be a vast improvement. Now it gives me an actual render time when it's all done. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to see you as soon as the render is done. All right, folks. Well, I discovered something a little bit interesting here. I actually had forgotten that I had set render threads. If you look here, you'll see that only one core is actually performing. That's no good. I'm missing out on the whole point of being able to do this render so quickly. And if I go back to Kdenlive, no, okay, and I look at the render settings, I have only one encoder thread enabled, and the problem is on my Yoga 2, I set it for 4 threads to maximize. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. One, I'm going to go into the job queue. I'm going to abort this job, go back to render, and increase my threads here. I'll go ahead and give it 6 threads. I gave it 4 threads on my Lenovo Yoga 2. Sorry, I'm trying to do things at the same time as I'm thinking and talking, and I'm not very good at that. Other people might be awesome at it. So now let's do a render, and I'm going to do a render to file, and let's see what we actually get. All right, clicking render to file. It had shown that it was going to take 23 minutes, and that was a single render thread. So that is working. I can close that copy and that copy. Move this over here, move this over here, and let's get an idea now of what we've got. So I've got 6 threads going. Looks pretty much the same. I really would expect way better render times. Got 41% of my memory allocated. You know, but the thing is about threads don't equate exactly to cores. So what we're looking at is 6 cores. 6 threads really is not 6 cores. I probably could have put 12 threads and put a much heavier load. But I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll experiment, and I'll come right back when it gets done. If you are a Kdenlive user, something interesting to note. In order to get the render threads to work properly, you have to make the setting changes and then close Kdenlive and reopen it. Otherwise, it will not use all the cores to do rendering. So I successfully have it using all my cores for rendering, and hopefully it'll be much faster than my i7. We're going to find out. Alright, so rendering completed in 8 minutes 17 seconds, and we're going to compare that to the original video's render time. Okay, so on my Lenovo Yoga 2, it finished in about 15.5 minutes. So, well, I'm sorry, no, 16 minutes. So it looks like the render time was cut in half on the new system, and I'm really pleased with that. And at the time, System Monitor showed basically that all the CPU cores were in use. Render time was excellent. And I do not have VLC installed, but we should be able to view it. The other thing that was a problem was basically playback was terrible. So I'm going to press save here, and before I go and play back the edited video that we've completed, I would like to see some kind of playback. Now I've increased the cores, the number of threads for playback and processing as well. So let's see how it does. Not good at all. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, we've got 100% usage here. And we're just about killing the poor thing. But the cool news is, if I can get this to pause again so I can get... oh, look at that. I crashed all of GNOME. Nice. But it recovered gracefully, so I always appreciate that. I do not want this to play anymore. Thank you. I can select, honestly I can't remember where anymore, but I can actually select the player. I think it might be in settings, and I'll try installing VLC and see if that makes it play any better. I'm going to go ahead and close the project. Let's have a look here. We're going to go to Videos and FastGadgets Edited. It did not play well at all with the default player, so we'll give it a try and just see how it does. Plays perfectly fine, or at least much better than it did before. I mean, it barely would play. A little bit of hiccups here. I know VLC is even better, but this would not even really play at all on my Yoga 2 i7. I'm much happier with this, much better. I think I will go ahead and install VLC, but basically the answer to my question, looking at the render times, see if it still shows JAQ. No, about 8 minutes to do the render. So I'm very happy with that performance, and I'll take it. So it's possible to do shorter 4K videos. I really don't see a reason to do that right now. You don't have to use Fedora. There's many distributions out there, but the beautiful thing is just dive in and learn. The best way to do it is use it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.